Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Uncomfortably Obedient. Today I'm going to continue with the series How Do You Identify? And the focus is going to be history of race. So last week we talked about whether identity is societally based or person based, and today we're going to focus on race as part of one's identity. Just as a disclaimer, the information that's being presented is information that I found during my research putting this piece together. If anyone has any concerns in regards to the validity of the information, please feel free to conduct your own research just for comparison. But if y'all are ready, let's get into it. So to start off, what is race? So race by definition is a grouping of people based on perceived shared physical traits, ancestry, and cultural or historical connections. So, in other words, it's humans from certain regions having commonalities, more so dependent on their environment and background than any biological differences. Let's remember that part. That part is going to be important later. So, as most of us know, there are five racial categories: white or Caucasian, black or African American, Native Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, and Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. The idea of race is a way to categorize human populations based on physical characteristics such as hair texture, skin tone or color, and facial features. It became a popularly used system of classification in the 18th century in order to justify societal hierarchies, with Europeans or Caucasians viewing themselves as the superior group. Today, these categorizations are used to justify discrimination, oppression, and inequality of people all over the world. With that being said, would it be a safe assumption that the idea of the races is more of a social construct than a biblical one? So hopefully the scriptures below shed some light on that very question. And I'm going to be reading from an Amplified Bible, and I'm going to be starting in Genesis 1 and 27. And it reads, "So God created man in his own image. In the image and likeness of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them." Next scripture is going to be Acts 17:24 through 26. "The God who created the world and everything in it, since he is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands, nor is he served by human hands, as though he needed anything, because it is he who gives to all people life and breath and all things. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of their lands and territories." Next scripture is coming from Romans 2:11. "For God shows no partiality, no arbitrary favoritism with one person. With him, one person is not more important than another." Next scripture is coming from Exodus 22:21. "You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt." Leviticus 19:34. "But the stranger who resides with you shall be to you like someone native born among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." Next is going to be Deuteronomy 23:7. "You shall not detest an Edomite, for he is your brother." So Edomites are from Esau's line, or Esau's descendants. "You shall not detest an Egyptian, because you were a stranger, a resident alien or foreigner in the land." And then lastly, it's going to be Revelations 7:9. "All these things I looked, and this is what I saw: a vast multitude which no one could count, gathered from every nation and from all the tribes and peoples and languages of the earth, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, Christ, dressed in white robes with palm branches in their hands." So we're going to go back to the part that I told you guys to remember, and that being the idea of the classifications being more so dependent on environment and background as opposed to any biological differences. So the reason that I want to circle back to that is because biologically, all humans, they bleed, they use the bathroom, they sleep, They need to eat. They have all the same organs. All of their organs perform the same functions. Granted, some people have better functions than others, but that's a different conversation. So I'm bringing all of this up to say that we are all biologically created in the same way, and our bodies function in the same way. So, like, for instance, if a Puerto Rican person gets sick, do you have to go to a Puerto Rican doctor in order to be able to receive the help that you need? Or can you go to any doctor because every doctor has the same knowledge, because every human being's body works the same way, if that makes sense? So the reason that I want to highlight that is because going back to the assumption of, is race a social construct or is it a biblical one? Because according to the scriptures, nothing in any of the scriptures that I shared shows a distinction between an Asian person or an African American person or an Indian person or any person really. People are all being spoken of in the same way. So if there's no distinction in the Bible in regards to your environment, your background, your hair texture, the language that you speak, your skin tone, facial features, if none of those things are mentioned as identifiers or determinants of identity in the Bible, can we then safely assume that races, or race, the idea of race, is a social construct? And in my opinion, it is. So according to the Bible, again, God shows no partiality amongst his children, meaning a person could be orange, 7'8", 500 pounds, bald, with purple eyes and no teeth, and they would still be a child of God. If this is true, then race could not possibly have any bearing on identity, because it is a human and social construct or concept, as I mentioned previously. Now, this is just my opinion, but you guys are welcome to let me know what your thoughts and ideas are on the topic. This is the point of these series, to kind of invoke conversation and invoke thought and some of the things that we just kind of normalize within our society. So I'm anxious to see what you guys would like to share. And I hope that you come back for our next episode. We're going to continue the series, and episode number 3 is going to be focusing on identity in and of itself. And we're going to be going over what is identity, how is it formed, and what emotion has to do with identity. So please, guys, come back. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you guys then.